Hi and welcome to Capacity Middle East Reconnect. You've tuned into our next episode for this year's agenda, wholesale industry trends and a winning fraud prevention strategy. This presentation session is sponsored by Bankai. We look forward to seeing some of you in Dubai on the 18th to 19th of May. You can book your place for the in-person event by registering in person by heading to our website. You can join. Since March, we've been running weekly content episodes right here on Swapcard on topical areas including e-gaming, peering, subsea, and content delivery in the region. Go and check out our on-demand coverage. Give me a second. You can interact with Bankai, our session sponsor, by heading to their virtual booth and by setting up a meeting. You can also conduct informal networking between delegates on platform. If you have any questions about this year's event, please reach out to one of the Capacity Media team. Here are the speakers for this session and presentation. And with that, I'll hand you over to our presenters, Chanderhas and Aayush. Gentlemen, all yours.
Thank you, David. Chander and I welcome you on behalf of Bankai Group to this presentation. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you guys are joining on for this session today. Yeah. So today we are going to talk about the wholesale industry trends and a winning fraud prevention strategy. Wholesale industry has been, growing and consolidating in a way for the last few years. We've seen different trends in terms of the voice traffic, in terms of SMS growth, in terms of the IoTs and the UCaaS playing a major role in terms of communication. And these are the topics we will be discussing today through a presentation with you guys. I am going to take you through the global wholesale industry trends. Now, going to the pre-pandemic period, the international voice traffic reached about 389 billion minutes in 2019, a decrease in comparison to 2018 by about 3%. The trend has been forecasting, a further decline over the next 5 years at a CAGR of 4.4% negative. 2019, the revenues reached about 11.4 billion for the overall wholesale industry, but the capacity wholesalers or the data companies saw a tremendous growth due to the rise in the demand for the OTTs. Our communication methods are shifting. OTT usage is much more prevalent. In 2019, before the pre-pandemic, we couldn't, we would assume that it would further decline. But in my next slide, you will see that in 2020, because of the COVID, the trend has been growing a little bit. And I would say the voice did grow majorly. But overall, coming back to this slide, SMS business has been growing. It has shown a gradual growth when it comes to A2P messaging overall. It reached and it is forecasted to go to 8.6 billion in 2024. Number of SMSs in 2019 reached about 229 billion SMSs. Now, three important factors by which the industry surprised all of us was global wholesale revenues went up by 3% in contrast to the continuous decline over the last 5 years, and all the reliable reports of the telecommunication industry, which showed about a 4 to 5% decline year on year. But surprisingly, it went up by 3% overall. Now, this 3%, according to us, is much higher than the official figures of 3%. But the roaming revenues went down, and because of which this growth staggered at about 3% overall. But if you see generally, the overall voice industry grew by about 10 to 12%, or maybe higher, because these are all estimations on which we are running today. Voice traffic overall, as we see, was up by 50% during the lockdown period, and interconnect revenue rose by 12 to 15% in 2020. And international roaming revenue decreased majorly by about 80%. If the range is 50 to 80, but I'm assuming much more than 80%, because completely the entire world was locked. So, much to our surprise, on the reports in 2019, we saw massive growth, massive consolidation, I would say, in 2020. Future trends, I mean, based on the pandemic now, what kind of changes do we see, or presume in the coming years, or even currently? I mean, globally we are at 20-30% operational, yet 70% of the world today is still under lockdown or some kind of restrictions from traveling and all those things. The events have moved virtual, so lot has changed. Operators or carriers are focusing on digitalization, adaptation of the digital platforms, like Telstra came up with their own portal. British Telecom went on their own portal. Number of them, like Telin recently came up with the news that they signed up with Odin Solutions. We ourselves, Bankai, have digitalized our voice business since the last 6 years, and we've been working through or with multiple operators to digitalize their network and make this voice trading or SMS trading, DIDs, all those things available over a platform rather than the traditional interconnect business. Operators are working with global wholesale players who have capability to invest in the network and have a wide coverage of customer base. Like we in the current times are largely focusing on increasing our enterprise and residential customer base in US and Canada. Outsourcing of the wholesale divisions. Now, for the operators, mainly the wholesale business or the international voice or SMS business is about 5 to 7% of their total revenue streams. So they want to focus on the core business, and people or the operators have been outsourcing this part of their business to key wholesale players like ourselves. We currently are carrying 100% inbound and outbound traffic of Liberia Telecom. We are managing a lot of networks in West Africa as well for the mobile operators in Sierra Leone, Gambia, those countries. Also in the news, you might be seeing a lot of consolidation due to increase of merger and acquisition, and that's what even Bankai is predominantly focusing on, mergers and acquisitions, in order to navigate through this time. Rather than customer acquisition, we are looking at business acquisitions and make this industry more secured, even from the fraud perspective, which Chander will bring up during his conversation with you guys. Strong industry collaborations, diversifying portfolios. Now, this is one key important point, that instead of the yesteryear concept of carriers, now what we will be seeing is the groups who are into multiple domains, providing technology, providing voice, providing SMS, different services, all under one umbrella. Those will consolidate with operators in order to outsource the entire business and bring it up to a pretty stable nature. Because currently, or in the yesteryears, the wholesale industry got fragmented for about a decade, where multiple small scale players came into the industry and started to take the share of the pie from the large consortiums, and those brought in a lot of fraud ideas and different things. So it is the right time to invest into the correct technology, invest into mergers and acquisitions, or simply diversify your business into multiple service channels or solutions. And with the digitalization, that is one of the key areas. And that's where we, from our side, see the wholesale business going towards. And I think, that is the way to go. So understanding the telecom frauds, I believe my colleague Chandar will take it up from here and discuss predominantly on how the industry is being impacted due to the existing frauds and what are the ways we can, bring up. Because implementing a solution or a fraud management platform will just not help the cause. There are a lot of other interesting factors which we as Bankai are taking care today. We are sharing with our other fellow colleagues in the industry. And I think with the global forums being created, like the MEF, GLF, and we are members of both of them. And, we see that by this kind of information sharing and, having such clubs, it is going to create a positive impact in fighting the telecom frauds. So, Chandar, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Aayush, for fantastic set of the tone. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning to different part of the world. So since there is a time constraint, so I'll be rushing through the slides. So if you talk about fraud, fraud is not only about telecom, or it's not only about numbers. It impacts the brands, it impacts the customers. So overall, frauds. You cannot kind of define frauds in the numerical value. It impacts all the value chain across a brand or a company. So there are numbers, different numbers you can see, like overall 1 to 1.5% of global telecom revenues are being lost only due to fraud. And when you talk about different kind of fraud, IRFS and vanagering are the most significant fraud. Those been increasing in last 2-3 years. Next. Next slide. Yeah, so these are different common telecom frauds, like vanagary is there, IRFS is there, SIM box fraud is there, PBX hacking is there, subscription fraud on the mobile money side, or all that is also one of the big fraud. Overall, if you see, the market of fraud is somewhere around 29.6 billion. IRFS alone was $6 billion last year. And if you take subscription fraud into the whole value chain, it's not only 29 billion US dollar. It goes more than 50 billion. As per new like CFCA magazines or all that, only subscription fraud last year was more than 15 billion US dollar. So these are the types of different fraud that is kind of taking a toll on global fraud, taking the global telecom industry. So this is the telecom fraud and risk evolution. If you will see in red dots are increasing and they are the big pie. So out of that you can see IRFS, hacking, we call it vanagary, or miscall fraud, we call it vanagary, sorry. Hacking, PBX hacking, these three types of fraud are growing faster and they are taking a bigger financial toll on the operator kitty. And rest, call hijacking, false FAS, they've been kind of got saturated in last 3 to 5 years. We have very good systems to tackle to them. So now the focus is more on vanagary and RFS fraud types. So you can see that apart from voice and SMS fraud, there are new emerging frauds like virtual number emulators are coming into the picture. Then the bot attack are very frequent these days. They hack the system, got the access of the system through the login system, and then generate different kind of fraud. And then there are different countries from where fraud being generated. Like these are the same pattern you will see year on year. Cuba always be Cuba, UK, Morocco, Latvia, the big termination cost destination always been the destination where fraud get penetrated or are the destination. Next. So these are some challenges why it's very tough to kind of control the fraud in global telecom system. One is fraudsters are very fast. Wholesale carriers are not that fast. Second is there is no global MIS sharing. Third is still there has to be global international fraud intelligence forums where we share the intelligence. Then last is operational capabilities of carrier is also kind of not 24/7 to tackle these problems. Next. So these are some winning fraud strategies for wholesale carriers. And then when you talk about future of fraud management, you need to ask certain question to your existing fraud supplier, that is it a comprehensive fraud solution covering both SIM based, CDR based, or real time fraud at the CDR level? Second is it cloud based solution that at one click you can got them? Third is it a comprehensive database? It is having that all the information it is having from the global fraud listing and blacklisting structures. So this is an ideal fraud management solution, that it has to be near to real time. KPIs has to be dynamic, and then without good visualization tool like BI tool, a fraud management system is like a black box. So visualization becomes very important, and then you cover with real-time SIM detection and everything. It has to be end-to-end and comprehensive solution to make you bulletproof against the fraud. So this is different approaches to kind of protect yourself from the fraud. Like definitely it has to be rule based with analytics. When AI coming into the picture, different analytics models from diagnostic to descriptive to predictive till all those models you need to imbibe in your fraud structure. And then signaling gateway, you can put your probe at the signaling and you can detect the probes in real time. And if you club all these 4-5 network elements, your fraud system can be very comprehensive, and these are the essential tools in today's world where 5G is coming, IoT devices is coming, and then with eSIM or all that, it becomes altogether a different ballgame. So this is telecom operators are the data mine of data. And with all this big data and analytics coming to the picture, we also need to imbibe latest AI and ML technologies with blockchain structure into our fraud system, so that we can detect the fraud and prevent fraud in near to real time. And with this, human intervention would be minimum, and our system would be very automatic, as like fraudster are using different automation tools. So AI ML is the future, and we already kind of imbibed this in our fraud solution already. So as there was a time constraint, we could not talk like in comprehensive. So just a overview about Bankai Group. We are one of the biggest wholesale carrier in the world, carrying more than 11 billion minutes on our network. Now we have more than 130 plus operator. Actually, it's more than 140. We got only 4-5 operators in last 2 months. And when you talk about our technology side, we are a global leader into global revenue assurance, fraud management, and interconnect billing system with more than 150 plus live customers across the globe. So, apart from that, we have taken over a company into blockchain solution in last 1 year, and we are kind of ramping up and taking our solution in comparison with the best of the best in the world. And do visit our site, and if you have any query, mine and Aayush email ID and numbers would be there in the last slide. You can drop your email, you can send your queries, and we will be eager to answer all the fraud queries. So these are our key clients. You can see all the biggies of the market and the different continents. Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot to Capacity. Thanks a lot to Telecom Fraternity to giving us this platform. We would be eager to answer your each and every query regarding fraud and wholesale industry. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful, Chandra.
Cheers. Thank you very much to Chanda and Aayush for your expertise and time there. Apologies if it was, you mentioned there that it was, you had a lot to get through. I just want to say once again, thank you so much to Bankai for being a session sponsor and platinum sponsor for this year's Capacity Middle East 2021 Reconnect. This session, in fact, closes this year's conference program. We hope you've enjoyed watching. All of our sessions will be made available on demand on Swapcard, so please remain on the agenda page to watch all of our previous sessions. A rerun of most of our key sessions will be made available on the platform during the 18th and 19th of May here on Swapcard. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the rest of the event. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.